Hey, 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 hey. Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to each and every one of you. I mean that most sincerely. Yes, I do. I hope you're having a great day. And now that you've got a little bit of time to take a little break from your day, I'm glad that you decided to stop right on in here. It's Think About It Thursday. Think About It Thursday. And I wanted to do something different, still within the same concept of Think About It Thursdays, but rather than have a specific title or shall I say topic that I wanted to discuss today, I really wanted to know what's on your mind. I want to dive into your thoughts. I want us to have a mindful discussion and talk about like what you've been thinking about lately, what you've been seeing maybe in the news lately, something that you feel like we should be talking about. Because it's Think About It Thursday, Noontime My Time Podcast. This is episode 62. Yeah? We're going to have a little open dialogue and let everyone have a little thoughtful conversation. That's going to take center stage today. I'm inviting you right here to share your thoughts and to engage in this conversation. But before we get into the conversation, you know what we got to do, what I do every time, right before we get into it. We want to do a little breath work. Yeah, we want to breathe something out. We want to breathe a little, whatever could be going on. Just that little quick mindfulness for yourself. So let's do it. Let's get into it. What I want you to do is inhale to the count of 4. And we're going to hold it for a few seconds. And then we're going to exhale. And we'll hold that for a few seconds. And we'll repeat that a few times. Now, you can close your eyes if you're in a place that you can do that. I don't want you to do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're actually sitting at the desk. If you got your head pods on and you're taking a listen, we'll vibrate with us and listen. But if you can close your eyes, close your eyes. You want to take it a step further, put your hands over your heart and feel that you are alive. That's you. Let's get into it. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. One more time. Let's inhale. Hold it a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. Didn't it feel great? All right, yeah. I know it feels good because when you take a little bit of time for yourself, that's a good thing. And it definitely feels good. It definitely feels good. It's Think About It Thursday. It's the Noontime My Time Podcast. I am MsTonya. I'm right here with you today. We're doing things just a little bit different. I didn't really come in with a specific topic that I really wanted to discuss. Of course, I have some things on my mind, but I want to know what's been on your mind lately. I want to know something that you have been thinking about. What are some things that you feel like we need to talk about, or some things that we need to think about, or some things that have made you think? I'm inviting you all in here today to share your thoughts. I want us to have a conversation, and I want those thoughtful conversations to take center stage. This is a space for it. This is where everybody's voice is heard, is respected, and it's appreciated. So that's why I invite you to take this time with me, and we can talk about a wide range of subjects. I just want to dive into what's going on in your mind. I do. I pose this question here to you. I just asked, what has been occupying your thoughts lately? Share something. Share something in the comments. Share something that's been on your mind, whether it's big, whether it's small. We can do that. Now, one of the first things that I do want to do, I want to take this time to do is I want to give respect, all respect due to the legend, the legendary Tina Turner. May she rest in peace. May she rest in peace. Much love to her family and loved ones during this time. But she'll always be a legend for all of us. We hold her dear, dear in our hearts. Also, I want to acknowledge the passing of Bill Lee. Bill Lee is a jazz bassist. He's also the father of Spike Lee. He died also on Wednesday at the age of 94. Yeah. So let's give some love out to the Lee family. All respect due to some of our legends, our elders. They've done so much. And they've definitely made great contributions to our culture. Now, one thing that I feel like I'll start the conversation off here is there was a thing that I think we need to think about, and people keep talking about this young man, and I was a little fearful about what was going on with him and what could be going on with him. Of course, I'm not trying to be a sports analyst or anything like that. I've never portrayed myself to be, but we know what's going on in the news, what is being pushed in our faces, and we've had some conversations about it. And I got to talk about this because I did have a conversation in regard to what's going on with Ja Morant. And the latest news here is that, police had to visit his home and do a wellness check, a welfare check. And that made me think, I'm like, wow, what happened is that he had made some posts that he made some posts that put people in a little fear. They were worried about him. They were worried. And I got to be honest, I'm glad that they did check up on him. He put up posts and he was sending out his love to his mother and father and to his daughter. And then he posted a picture of himself with his back turned saying bye. So that had quite a few people worried, quite a few people in the sports arena. And like I said, it caused for concern. So they had someone go and check up on him. And I think we all need to send some healing type of energies that way. Because we got to think about it. Just think about it. Yes, he's done the things, and we did have this conversation. But the young man is going through quite a bit. Can you imagine being that age and having such huge responsibilities on your shoulders? Like you're the one in the family who everybody's coming to. You're the one who you've made it. So everybody wants something from you. Just imagine everybody wanting something from you. And everything that you do is in the spotlight. I can't imagine that being a fun summer for someone who is typically his age, who is typically, having fun with their friends. It's demanding. And I don't know what's going on, and I'm not going to speculate what's going on, but we can think about it. We can think about that. We can imagine. So let's send some healing vibrations out there and wish him the best. Very talented young man. Very, very talented. And I just want him to be okay. So what are some things that you guys have on your mind that you think is worth talking about? Something that you've been thinking about. Big, small, however you feel. Are there some recent experiences or events that have impacted your life or impacted your perspective on life? After seeing what's going on here with Ja Morant and seeing what is the latest news, has your perspective changed any at all? I'm curious. I see we've got Tori here. Always good to have Tori in the building, and Tori is always here with us. How you doing, Tori? She says, I'm here. Good, good, good. Good to have you. What's on your mind? What are some things, what are some issues that you feel like we should be talking about or we should be thinking about? Any pressing issues in our community? Any pressing issues that you feel like are going on in society? What do you guys want to discuss? How do you feel like we could get into some of these possible solutions? I see we got Donald Brown here. Good to have you in here, man. How you doing? Good to have you. I've got the floor open here. This conversation is really going to be largely influenced by you. I mean, I talked about what was going on with Ja Moran and the latest news, where they've actually had to go out and do a wellness welfare check. How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about it? All right. I see Donald here. He says he wants to talk about AI and jobs. Listen, AI and jobs. Well, what do you think about AI, man? Have you used any form of AI yet? Have you used Bard? Have you used Chat GPT? Have you? Have you explored with it? Are we doing that? Let me ask you guys, are you exploring a little bit with Chat GPT? And how do you feel about it? I personally, I like what I've seen with Chat GPT. I don't know how far they're going to go. I don't know how far we're going to go with AI overall. But for me, I find it to be a great tool. I got to be honest. It's a really great tool. I have been wanting an assistant for the longest of time to do some things that I can get done with AI. And I love it. I have no problem with it at all. And I see that Donald also says, yes, he's used it. I have used it for content creation. I think it is, in fact, is a great tool for content creators. It is. There's so much that you can do. And seeing that you've been using it for content creation, Donald, in what ways have you found ChatGPT useful in helping you with your content creation? I know how I'm using it, and I'll share that. For me, when I'm deciding what content that I want to create, I do a lot of writing. I get it to do some editing for me. You know, it's good for editing. It's good for ideas, because basically what it's doing, and if I'm to understand it correctly, is trying to identify what the next word would be. So if you are putting in some very good prompts, you know, you're getting some good information. I like it. I like it. I do know that people will be losing some jobs. I do. And people have been losing jobs. But I say this, there'll probably be people who will gain some jobs. I feel like people can take the opportunity to learn to use it. I think there will be people who will be better at using AI than some people, because you still have to be creative. This thing is not a brain. It's not a brain, and it's not your brain. You've got to put some good stuff in it, and then you've also got to do some type of checking and confirming right now, because I feel like you had to do that anyway. If you're a writer, you've always had to do a little research. So for me, that hasn't changed. Not at all. But let me know how you are using it, Donald, because there's several ways that I feel like content creators can use it. I feel like you can use it when you're looking to come up with some topic ideas. So if you just have a general idea of what you want to talk about, I feel like it could filter through some ideas for you, you know, and that's just one thing. There's several ways. I see we got Les in the building. How you doing, Les? He said, funny, for years, we were talking about laborers and restaurant workers being replaced. But AI, if used in that manner, will replace authors, actors, etc. Intellectual properties will be questionable. It's a little dangerous. Well, interesting. Interesting. I don't know necessarily, or I don't know if I agree with that 100%, because I more so feel that it is a tool for some of these same people. I feel like it's a tool for authors, and because it's not like it really has a voice per se, or at least that's where it is now. Where it will go in the future, we'll have to live through the future to see. But you can't replace people. It's not going to tell the story or write a story the way or in the that this author would write their story. It doesn't have the information. Anything that you get from AI, you have to prompt it. So I think people who haven't had an opportunity to use it, they might be thinking like, it's writing all of this stuff and it's doing this on its own, but it doesn't quite have the voice and feel of a person, or at least that has been my experience. But I do find it to be a tool, and I do feel like maybe in terms of some assistance, in terms of maybe some low-level editing or editors, it could replace some of that, but I can't really see it replacing an actual author or an actual actor. I don't know. And then for me, I don't know if it's because I have the critical ear at this time, because I do a lot of video editing and sound type editing. I can tell that it's not, I can tell that it's artificial intelligence. Like all of the content that is created by, audio and voiceovers by AI, I can hear that. It doesn't sound like a person to me. Now, of course, with time and technology, they'll probably change that up a bit, but it isn't there for me yet. So I don't know. And I certainly don't want it to it's not going to replace me. I tell you that. I see Donald says, the last thing I done was ask for suggestions for thank you posts. Got you. Donald also says, presently ChatGPT is very smart, is a very smart 7-year-old. Right. Okay. That's how I feel about it. It's doing some work for you, but it's not doing the work for you. That's how I feel. Donald also says, I use it to fix VBA or SQL coding. See, you just went right over my head. I don't know what any of that is. I know nothing about coding. However, if I wanted to know, I definitely would go into ChatGPT and I would ask, and it would give me a head start. I more feel like, it just kind of gives you a little head start or help you out. I don't feel like, for me, it's replaced anything that I need. It's just the assistant that I always wanted, just to do some things that took a lot of time that I didn't really want to do in terms of organizing my outlines and things of that nature. I just like it. I see Les here. He said, kids are false being accused of using ChatGPT to write essays. Now that is going to be very, very tricky. I don't know how they're going to police this. I really don't know, because from what I understand, it's just simply choosing, word patterns. What's the next right word to follow this? So I don't know, guys. I don't know. But I do know that we're going to see. I definitely know that. For sure. I tell you something else. I something else that was on my mind. And if you guys got something else on your mind, we don't have to stay right here with AI and Chat GPT. The floor is definitely open. I want us to share whatever we've been thinking about, big, small, things that are relevant to us, events that have been going on, things that have significantly impacted our lives, our perspectives. What do you guys think about anything? Sports, entertainment, cultural events. Les says here, they have software to find it, but the software has been found to be faulty. Wow. They're going to have a time. They are going to have a time. I'm telling you. They're going to have to figure it out. I don't know. It's a slippery slope. It is. That's going to take a while in the academic arena here for them to get this thing done. But I'll say this. How I feel like it is a prompt, you have the intelligence and you know what it is that you want to do. It's not like you sit at the computer and something is just automatically being generated for you. You have to guide it. It is an assistant. You are the boss of AI. You understand what I'm saying? You have to make sure that you're getting out of AI what you want. And not all of the information is going to be correct. It's not giving you a final presentation. You still got to do the work. So if people are thinking that they don't have to do any thinking and that they don't have to do any work, well, AI is not that. It isn't. I think people probably want things to be easy, but it's not getting ready to make things easy like that for you. It isn't. I see Les saying here that people really don't want to work. I was just saying that, wow. And they just tired of the nonsense and being treated like garbage for $7.25 when they can sleep on their mom's couch. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Why do you think that is? You think people don't want to work? Do people really not want to work? Now, I know we don't want to be treated like garbage. You don't. You don't want to be treated, like he says here, you don't want to be treated like garbage for $7.25 an hour when you can sleep on your mom's couch. But I got to say something. Because all of us had a first job. And I'll just date myself here a little bit. But I remember my first job and I was making $3.25 an hour. And I was in high school and I lived at home, obviously. But to make that $3.25, was I treated the best? I don't know necessarily that I can say that, but I definitely wasn't treated the worst. The thing is this, I felt good about myself. And I know it's a different thing when you're talking about working for minimum wage and being a young person and living at home. It really is a different thing. It's totally different from having to take care and maintain a family. But the same principle applies when it comes to wanting to be useful, wanting to make your own money, feeling proud about making that money and being able to purchase things and do things for yourself. That doesn't really change, And I would hate to think that people are really just in some type of slump where they feel like they want to be on the couch or be at their mom's house. Now, I have young adult children and they want to be out in this world, They want to be out in this world. They want to find their way and make it on their own. And I know what that's like because I remember being the ages that they are. They're in their 20s. And I very much felt that way as well. And I fumbled my way through life through some of those years. I flew by the seat of my pants during some of those years. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was making it. I was trying to figure something out. I wanted that independence. I had that inside of me. So is it the 725? Or is it just a lifestyle? Is this where we've come? Is this how people have allowed technology, and maybe this could be influenced somewhat by social media? Have the past few years of going through some of the things that we have gone through, does that have anything to do with it? I don't know. But I got to tell you, I know so many young people. I hear what you're saying, Les. And I know that there's a culture of people who feel that way. But I know so many people who feel just the opposite. They're out here. And they still got that fire in them. They want something. They want to do something. And even if it's not directly what they may be their, or what they perceive to be their dream, they still are moving towards it. And they're doing things. So I'm happy that I can see that, I'm happy to see that. I see Donald, he says here, I don't fear AI. I fear the people who create AI. Well, listen, those same people who are into all of this technology, all of them, I can't even fear them, because the same culture of that person and these people, they've been here. This didn't just happen. This has been going on. So they've been here doing this for a very long time. No need to be afraid of them now. I tell you what put a little fear in me when I realized that there are people who are not necessarily farmers, like Bill Gates, who are buying up a whole lot of farmland, how they've done so much GMO, and how they've just like genetically modified so many of our seeds, and how they look to change our food. They've done it to the meat, and now that they're buying up all of this farmland, I'm getting ready to say, vegetarians, you're not getting ready to be healthy either, because we don't have the minerals and the things that the soil needs to produce the best quality of our fruits and vegetables. And now that they're changing and modifying seeds and he's buying up seeds. I don't know if you guys know that. I don't know if you know that at all. But that's next. Like, they really intend to control everything. So you think you're doing something by becoming a vegetarian, but I'm about to tell you, being a vegetarian, that's changing too. You're not getting the best nutrition. People don't want to hear that, but you need to think about it. It needs to be in your mind. It does. How you doing, Amina? I see you here with us here today, and it's good to have you in here. She says, the best term I heard that explains this phenomenon is purpose void. It's not that people don't want to work. It's that a lot of people have found fulfilling work and money isn't enough of a motivation. I agree with you. And we kind of had that talk. We were talking about this a bit yesterday. You've got to know what your priorities are. You've got to know what type of lifestyle that you want to live. And you've got to know what budget it takes to live that. And figure out if, hey, do I want to be out in this hustle culture, or do I want to feel like I have a purpose? Do I want to feel like, I'm living the life for me? I'm not trying to live by the standard of anyone else. Although social media and all of the things that we see on television, you see the lights, you see the glitz, you see the glamour. Some people are going to be attracted to that. But some people are like, hey, I don't even feel it. I don't even want it. I get it. I like what you said there. I like that term. I hadn't heard it before. Purpose void. So, people just found like, if I'm not fulfilled, this money isn't this money isn't going to be enough. But the whole point of the matter is you've got to make some money. You've got to have some type of drive in you. I don't know what is taking the drive away from people. And I feel like it's going to be up to us. And I feel like having conversations like this inside of our homes that have nothing to do with media and not exactly quite like this, but more in depth. This is just a spark. This is just something to make us think. This is for us to take this conversation off of here. Take the conversation off of here. Have it with your family. Have it with your community, with business leaders, with young people who are looking to be entrepreneurs. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we got to get back to. We got to show them and make them understand that, okay, well, you see me doing this here now, but this is what I did then. And sometimes you have to take that job that is not paying a lot, that is not necessarily what you thought you would be doing. I've done it more than a few times in my life. I've had quite a few jobs, and I think I've shared with you guys before, I've honestly never had what people consider a high-paying job. I haven't. But I knew how to balance my money. Not at my very young age. I mean, I went through some of the same things that some people probably have gone through, just not being financially responsible. But it didn't take me long to learn that, hey, I can't live like this. I don't like this. I got to do something different. But I've taken jobs that I feel like are BS jobs. And I knew that they were BS jobs going in, but let me say this. Because of what I feel of myself, what I think of myself, and how I want to present myself anywhere, I want to do a good job no matter what it is I'm doing. No matter what it is, no matter what the pay is. If I agreed, first of all, if I apply for the job, number one, I've already told myself that this is something that I'm willing to do. So I get the job and whatever the pay is, and I sign my name here and I get on this schedule, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it well. I am. Because I know that job is not who I am. I know who I am. So if I take a position as a bookkeeper, okay, I don't feel like just a bookkeeper. I am MsTonya, and I am doing this bookkeeping. You're paying me this amount of money. I've made a decision to take this job. And anytime that I've taken a position at any job, I always knew in my mind about how long I felt like I wanted to be in that position. Because I had a plan. And that starts with a financial plan. So I look at, okay, well, I'm going to do this for X amount of time. I already know how much money I want to save from the time that I start that job until I finish. So you got to have some short-term and some long-term goals and plans. You got to make them. So I always do a 3 or 5, sometimes a 10-year plan. So I know what I'm doing, and I know what I'm doing when I walk through those doors. And when I go in there, nobody's going to treat me in a bad way because I'm not accepting it. And I also don't even present myself in that way that I've been in a position that someone has wanted to do that. You know, we're gonna get some communication going. Like, I know I've had the bosses who I've seen communicate with people in ways that I felt like were not right, but I also knew that they weren't going to speak that way to me. I didn't allow it, and I didn't have to be rah, rah, rah for it. It was all about a matter of presentation and conversation. We had it. And when I walk through those doors, I make sure I do my job. I do my job well. And when I walk out of those doors, I leave that job right where it was. And every day I walk in there, I pick that up, I do it well. When it's time to clock out, I leave it there. I come home and I invest what I make from there in me and into my family. That's the whole point of having a job to me. I got to be able to invest that money, whether it's a high salary or low salary. I mean, I literally know people who are making six figures and who have been making six figures for years, who have made much more money than I had at certain times, but they never had available cash like I've had. But it's because of the difference of the way that we use our money. So people got to think about that. It's not always about how much you make an hour. It's about how you use that money. How fiscally responsible are you? That's what you got to do. I got a comment here from Les. He says, part of it is this. When I was 24 to 25, all my friends had kids. Then there was a huge movement on birth control, teen pregnancy, etc. Now, none of my son's kids at the same age have kids. The dynamic of the need to work has changed. The dynamic for the need for work has changed. So they're not having kids, right? Which, I mean, that is a totally different motivation. I have to tell you something. When you have a kid, that is a different motivation. But you're saying that birth control, teen pregnancy, all of that was going on, and none of your son's kids have kids. Well, I mean, I think what happens as well is we end up in different social economical backgrounds. We kind of, some of us elevate, and so the people around you are not doing some of the things that happened in your life when you were growing up, or for some of the people who are around you. We gotta notice that as well, because I didn't have kids very early. I didn't have my first child until after I was 25. So I know that that's not necessarily, I don't know how true that can be. I just think it depends on your background, on how you grew up. Because by the same token, although I didn't have kids early, I was still motivated to work. I still had goals. I still, had a drive. And I didn't want to live in my mother's home. I knew that I could, but I didn't want to do that. I could have stayed in my hometown. I didn't want to do that. I lived so many places. I've lived in, in my 20s, I lived in cities. I lived out of the country. My mother, she encouraged us to go out there and discover. And all of us did that. Now, I do happen to live in my hometown now. I came back, but not because I didn't go out there and explore, not because I didn't go out there and find a way for myself. So I feel like if that is the issue, if young people are not motivated, I'm thinking that's something that's really inside of the home. Like, why is someone not motivating them to want to do that? Why do they not want to feel their own sense of purpose or their own sense of independence? But I will say this, I want to say this. I do think it could be smart to be a young person and to have a plan if you happen to stay at home. But it has to be a plan. Like if you think about, okay, well, I'm going to stay at home for, just like I said, have a plan. Have your little 3-5 year plan. Because you're young. You don't need to be having some type of plan. You can't have a 10-year plan, a 5-year plan talking about you staying at home. But have your little 3-year plan. And say, I'm going to work this job. It might not be paying the most, but if you're staying at home and you are going to work, you need to be saving money so that you can go out here and so that you can decide what it is you want to do Decide if you want to get your own place. Decide if you want to invest in some type of business. You can do that. Decide if you want to invest. Because people in our culture now are talking more about investing. That is a thing. So I like hearing young people talk about that. I think you can do it. But this whole thing, I think, has a lot to do with the conversations that we're having in our home. How are we talking to our young people? And are we coddling them? Now, I'm not a parent who just like threw my kids out of the house. Not at all. They're motivated to do things. There's things that they want to do that they can't do here in terms of career choices, lifestyle that they want to live. It's not available to them here, which is some of the same reasons why when I was their age, I went out in the world to discover and find some places where I needed to be, where I could grow, where I could gain new skills. Because there wasn't anything for me to do, or I didn't feel like there was anything for me to do in my hometown after I graduated from high school. I didn't see what I could do there. I didn't see anything that I could do there. So I had to go out there, and I was, like I said, my parents encouraged that. So what conversations are we having with our young people? Why are they that comfortable? I wasn't uncomfortable at home, but I wasn't comfortable with the idea of just being home. You know what I mean? All right. I see Amanda here. She says, in addition to the purpose void, we're all living in times where things are rapidly evolving. It's a demanding world unless you have a mental capacity to control how they are affected by the pace of the rat race world. And then we collectively have a lot of unresolved generational traumas. The shutdown during COVID was a little moment of rest and an eye-opener for many. I can agree with that. I can agree with some you got some very good points in here. I do think that there's a lot going on, but also I don't necessarily know that there's a whole lot going on in our lives that wasn't always going on in our family dynamic lives. It's just because we have social media and technology allows us to share so much information, and people put so much of their lives on social media that we realize that we're not alone. So I'm not so sure about that. But I do know that COVID was definitely a moment that allowed people to, or forced people, I won't say allowed, forced people to look at things a lot differently. And we still are, because in a lot of ways, the world is really just opening back up and it's very different. But I'm not so sure that, being comfortable in your parents' home, I don't know that I can blame that on anyone. I think that is a home thing. It is. And I don't know a parent who wouldn't encourage their young people to get out here and do something for themselves. Because I love you. I'd love to see you every day. But I can't have, an adult in my home living in the same bedroom that you grew up in as a kid, the same walls, the same bed, no drive. No. How am I going to treat an 18 to 25-year-old like an 8-year-old? I don't want to do that. I can't do that. My goal is to encourage you, to help build you. So you're going to have to get out there. I'd rather you get out here and go out there and fail. Fall on your face, figure some stuff out. And if things get that knocked down, drug out, yeah, I got some place where you can come and lay your head and get yourself back together. Get a new plan. Figure it out. But no, not just to be here. Not just to be here. And I'll say this too, because, we got to look at it in all types of ways. Like I said, if you're going to be that young person who has that plan and say, okay, well, mom, dad, I don't feel like college is for me, or I kind of want to take this gap year. What I'd like to do is get a job. I want to save some money, and I want to figure this thing out. But I've given myself a time limit. But you've got to give that time limit, and you've got to stick to it. And also give them some responsibility. Give them a bill. Let them know that this is not going to be a free ride. And by the time they feel that responsibility and know that, hey, this is not free. I'm not, 8 years old anymore. I'm not 10 years old. I've got some responsibility. Mom and dad's got responsibility. Mom has to pay bills. I got to pay some bills. I got to make some things work. They need to be paying their own car insurance. They need to pay their car taxes. Something. There's nothing wrong with helping your young people. We're here for that. And there's nothing wrong with living together as a family if you're going to do that too. Because I feel like you really could come up if you decide to live like a family and share like a family, share the bills, share the responsibilities, so that everything isn't on just one person. So if you're paying this bill or you're paying that bill, and I'm not even talking about, this whole thing of, if you're going to split the bills up, however equal ways, you don't even have to do that. Just give somebody a responsibility of taking care of a certain bill. Because if you're making more money and they're making less money, to split it up, they're not going to be able to save. So do it in a responsible way. You know what I'm saying? So if everybody is contributing to the household, everybody's able to save. Everybody's able to have something. And respect each other. Respect everybody's contribution. You can't make my contribution feel less. So there's ways to work this thing out. We can do it. All right. Let's see. Did I read this comment here from Amina? Let's bring this one up. No, I didn't. Okay. Amina here, she says, the increased presence of AI is a bit inspiring for me. It has caused me to treasure organic interactions beyond the cyber world, aka IRL, in real life. I'm learning that our real values will be recognized. It's our humanity. If we use AI as a tool, it can free up our time to explore more meaningful experiences with other humans and nature. But you have to be on a certain frequency to understand this. Implementing will be a challenge too. I found personally having more free time hasn't always, I get where you're going. You only get so many characters here, so it kind of cut her off, but I agree with her here. AI is definitely, and I said this earlier in the conversation, I use it as a tool, and it's really been a great assistance. It does not and will not be able to have any impact on my human and our nature experiences. It just doesn't. There's a difference. I see Derek here. How you doing, Derek? He said, how has social media replaced the value of parenting? Man, I think I was kind of talking about that a bit. It's unfortunate, but a lot of young people have devices in their hands. They grew up with devices. It's like devices, iPads, phones, were a lot of these young people's babysitters. It was to keep them quiet. Let's be honest about it. You put it in their hands so that it would keep them quiet. And you got to look at what it's doing to them. It's kind of ruined them emotionally. They've got unrealistic expectations about beauty. They feel like they have to have what they see. And if you don't have work ethic, it's not about seeing something and liking it and wanting it. It's about wanting to gain some knowledge and figure out how I can get these things that I want. So what I was saying here is a lot of these problems that we're having, yes, social media has contributed to it, but we've got to get conversations back in our home. We've got to talk to our people. We've got to guide them. We got to show them how things can be done. Because if my parent and some of our parents and grandparents and even ourselves could raise families on not the highest of salaries and still be productive people and raise good children with a good foundation who have drive, who have a goal, who has moved up. And that's the idea that each generation does a little better. You set your kids up to do better than you. That's what you want for them. That's what your grandmother wanted for your parents. And that's what your parents wanted for you. So we've got to instill that in them. That is in the home. I don't expect them to get that from social media. I'm not. And you know that they're not. I see Les here. He says, there are a lot of factors. I won't say not motivated, but if mama lived in the projects 30 years and daddy wasn't there, they may not have had the same motivation. They were just able to survive. And if they don't know or see better, they may feel that they can't do better. Absolutely. We know that to be true. We know this is true. That's why it's generational. Because I don't necessarily know that the project was even set up to live 30 years. But I mean, that's a totally different conversation. And we probably could say that. But listen, we can't, at some point, you've got to decide what you want. And when you decide what you want, blaming anybody, blame can't be a factor. It can't. You just got to be motivated. Nobody says it's easy. It takes a lot. And I know what it's like. I don't know if you guys know this, but I feel like our culture of people, and some people beyond, outside of our culture, but I feel like a lot of people know what it's like to work some of these jobs that aren't necessarily the highest paying jobs. And you feel like you're a person who may deserve more. You may feel educated beyond that. And you're listening to a boss who may or may not know more than you, who may or may not be more educated than you. But you go there and you do what you have to do because that is where you are. No one puts a gun to your head and makes you apply for a job. No one. Everybody who's working a job that they feel is a shitless job applied for it. Because nobody just comes to your house and invite you to work. No one. I don't know that. You have to go through so much to get a job. Even the worst jobs. You know how much information you got to give them? You got to give them all your IDs, all your banking stuff, all your codes and numbers and security. You understand what I'm saying? So at some point, you made a decision to do that. You made that decision. So when you make that decision, you also have an opportunity to decide that I am going to make the best of this. This is not what I will choose to do for the rest of my life, but this is what I am doing so that I can walk towards the best of my life. You have to do that. Somebody has to tell you that. We got to tell our young peoples that. We do. Amina here, she says, I think social media is exposing the decline of values as it relates to parenting. Many parents use their kids as accessories or opportunities to show and prove themselves. Many parents aren't helping their kids to learn and grow into productive, autonomous adults. It's sad. This is one of the contributing factors to that purpose void I was speaking of. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm a very techie person. I've always been a very techie person. I've had cell phones from the early 90s. Like, that's how long I've been using cell phones. I've been using computers. I'm a person who self-taught myself a lot of the things that I do today. And see, that's one thing about education as well. And you guys remind me, because I feel like now I just thought of a topic that I'd like to kind of talk about as it relates to education, because we put so much emphasis on education being in institutions that we're not making use of what education really is. Because look at all of these young people who are graduating right now. They're at these commencement ceremonies. And what is a commencement? It's the beginning. This is a new beginning for them. They just finished schooling to a certain level. And so really, what does that mean? It means that you have a great understanding of what it takes to learn something. You officially know how to learn. You know that you have to read books. You know that you have to do the work and put in the work, research, if you want to know something. So if you decide to continue yourself in education for a specific subject, you can do that. But the whole idea is that you've got a new beginning and you understand what it takes to learn. Now, for me personally, there are so many things that I've learned on my own because I know how to learn. I know that I've got to do the research. I know that I got to do the work. I know that it takes trial and error. I've got to do these projects. So I didn't need a teacher to guide me here. I knew what to do. I knew where to go. So that's how I know how to do a lot of the technical things that I know, and specifically when it comes to technology. I did not go to school for anything that has anything to do with what I'm doing now. I didn't go to school to learn to edit, to use a computer, camera work, videography, none of it. But I wanted to know. And you trying to tell me that they've got this thing called a computer and it's got all of this information in it and I can learn. You didn't have to tell me to go in here and learn this stuff. I wanted to learn that. And I did. You know how many sleepless nights, how many nights I stayed up, eyes burning, just learning information, writing things down, figuring things out, trial and error. Because that's curiosity. You got to be curious. That's what it's about. I see Amina here. She said, preach, MsTonya. Well, I'm not trying to preach, but you got to have that drive. We've got to put that in our kids. We got to let them know, hey, you got to do something. You can't just stay here. I love you, but that won't be it. I see Derek here says, because of podcasting, many young people believe that foundation is not necessary, but the dream is more concrete. Listen, people want to blame a lot of stuff on podcasting and podcasters, and I do get it. I do. I understand. I'm happy that I do have a background in broadcast media because I know what it's like. I've worked in that type of environment, and I've got to tell you that I love this environment of podcasting. I don't feel like it has to be that way. I mean, there are journalists out here who are journalists. They take their job serious, which they should, but I don't feel like, I don't know. I don't know if we can blame it on podcasters because you know what bullshit is and you might decide to watch it. And some people want to watch it. You know the difference between a journalist and a podcaster. There is a difference. you know? And some podcasters are good. Some take it a bit more serious. There's levels to everything. There's levels to everything. There's some good ones. There's some shitty ones. There's some in between. It just depends. What type of conversations are they having? What type of conversations are they motivating? There's an audience for everyone. There really, really is. So I don't know. I can't blame the podcasting world, because I'm also the type of person who says, like, I feel like people should have a podcast. Now, if you don't do the work, if you think it's easy, you'll find out it's not. Not if you want to bring some type of value. But if your intention is just to be seen, well, you don't have to have a podcast for that. Everybody has social media platforms and pages. I mean, I feel like that's why Facebook and Instagram and stories and reels became so popular, because people were just able to click that record button on their phone, immediately upload a couple minutes of whatever it is they wanted to say or display, their outfit, their food, their kid, whatever. All of it. Tell a joke, respond to someone else's video, make a comment on something that's going on. We all get to do that. Doesn't make you a podcaster, though. And being a podcaster doesn't make you a journalist. Doesn't make you a news anchor. And I don't know that podcasters think that. Maybe some do. I don't feel that way. I know the difference. I've worked in the industry, so I know the difference. I know the amount of work that it takes. And just being a producer, I know what it takes to do anything in this realm of media and videography and content creation. I know what it takes to get it done. But it's not easy. That's why everybody is not successful at it. That's why people aren't taken serious. But I also feel like, we don't have to be snobs about it either. Because I do know that you can fumble your way through some things and you can figure some things out and you can grow. So it'll show. It shows. I've seen a lot of people who started out with particular podcasts, and I can't say that it was A-rated, but they wanted to be better. They were motivated to be better, and they worked at it. And that's just like anything. So anything that you want to know, there's no excuse. We've got all of these tools here. We've got the internet, which is a tool. People thought the internet was, years ago, they thought that was bad, was going to be bad for us. Maybe we could probably say that, but depends on how you use it. And AI is coming to do and be the same way. It depends on how you use it, right? I want to thank y'all. Thank y'all for coming in. Today, I didn't want to have a specific topic. I just kind of wanted to see what was on your minds. I wanted us to just have a mindful conversation. And I hope that you take the opportunity to have mindful conversations in your home. Sometimes, get together with some of your friends. Like, you guys go different places. You might go out to a restaurant, have dinner. You may go out to a bar or something of that nature. You have those times out, but let's go back to some of those times where we meet each other at home. Have a little house party. Or just a house gathering, not even so much a party, where we can talk. Because there's things that we need to be talking about. There's things going on in our community that we need to be talking about. I don't think that everything needs to be online. Although I have conversations about things that are online, trust me, I'm not having conversations about things that I feel that I don't want online. And my friends know that. And we have those conversations. See, there's some things that we have to figure out among ourselves, by ourselves, and that is the way that things should be done. I'm not wrong. Because if we were having those conversations, and if you're having those conversations, a lot of the issues that we feel like social media is causing a problem? No, you won't have to worry about it because you're going to be talking about it. See, everything, although people think everything is online, let me tell y'all something. Everything is not online. Do not believe the hype. We say that things are specifically curated to show us certain things and make us believe certain things. That is true. That is very true. There's a whole lot of podcasters and people and entertainers that you see, you go to their pages and you see the stuff. That's just the stuff that they want you to know. So stop thinking you know everything, because you don't. You don't. What you need to know is what's going on in your house. Gather with your friends. Have conversations. Make sure that you guys talk about some of the challenges that are going on in your families, with each other, some of the obstacles that you're facing. How you should influence your young people. Because as parents, we need to have that network of people around us of, like, who could I get to talk to my son or my daughter if I'm having this issue? Because you got to know that all the time, kids don't want to hear everything that comes from you. You might have someone who is in the family or a family friend who could have the same discussion with them and pretty much tell them the same thing, word for word, of what you were trying to get across to them. But they'll take it differently from them. Because sometimes, and you know it, kids get to that stage where they think their parents don't know anything. They think they're always telling them everything. They're tired of hearing you talk. So somebody else got to tell it to them. And you got to be comfortable with doing that. You got to be able to look at the people around your circle and say, you know what? I would love for my son or my daughter to talk to XYZ, because I like what he does in the community. And I want my son or my daughter to see how they move, or just to have a conversation. And you don't even have to know what they talked about. But if you trust that person enough, you should be able to say, hey, why don't you meet with my kid? Maybe you guys can just have lunch, whatever the case may be. And that'll help. That's what we're here for. That's what we should be doing, you know? And we get to talk to each other about experiences and events that are going on around us, things that are affecting our lives, some of our community issues, things that we see going on. Talk about them. Have those gatherings. Y'all don't have friends like that? Y'all don't do stuff like that? Everything has to be about clubbing and drinking or whatever the case may be, well, to tell you the truth, you could have that same discussion if you want to have drinks. You can do what you want to do in your home. But have some talking points. Same talking points that we're talking right now. These are the same things that we can do with each other. Yeah? So you can talk about your social growth. We can reflect on things. Talk about raising our kids. Giving us some ideas of what might work, because we've tried this and this isn't work. Well, what did you do? Well, how did you get that message through? And then sometimes realize that, hey, you're not going to get that message through. Sometimes kids just going to have to fall on their face and they got to figure that out, because you can't tell them everything the same way you couldn't be told everything. Talk to your people when it has to do with your emotional well-being. Stop trying to keep everything and hold everything in for yourself. Share. Let somebody let you know how they cope with certain things. By you holding it in and not saying anything, you don't even know that your girlfriend was going through the same thing, or a close friend or a close neighbor going through the same thing. But everybody trying to act like they're okay. You don't have to. And social justice. Those are definitely conversations that I feel like we need to be having with each other, because we need to be exploring like things that we can be doing as we work towards making this place better. Yeah. We're coming into a season where that's very, very important. The political season is getting ready to pop on off. So we definitely need to be having these type of conversations with each other. And we can do this in our own homes, in our own environments, very respectfully. And you feel like you got that freedom to have the conversation, right? That's all I'm saying, y'all. Thank you. Thank y'all. We're not going to breathe it out today. We're not going to breathe it out because I got to go. But you know what? No. Ain't no need. You know what? Ain't no need of breaking that habit. I'm getting ready to let y'all breathe out, and I'm getting ready to go. Thank y'all. Somebody's at my door. All right? Y'all be good out here. Let's do some breath work. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold a few seconds. Exhale. And hold that a few seconds. Inhale one more time. Hold a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. And don't you feel great? I feel great. I appreciate you guys. And if nobody gave you a smile today, if nobody smiled today, you just close your eyes and give yourself a big smile and see how that feels for you. All right?